For as long as I can remember, my family has treated me as less important than my younger brother Marcus. From childhood through adulthood, everything revolved around him. When we were kids, if Marcus wanted my toys, he got them. If we both had important events, my parents always chose to attend his. At 14, I was forced to give up my room because Marcus wanted the one with the better view. In college, I worked part-time jobs to cover my expenses, while Marcus's education was fully funded. They bought him a car and an apartment. Their excuse? Marcus was sensitive and needed more support. Over the years, I learned to keep my emotional distance, though I stayed polite for the sake of family harmony. Then, I met Felicity, my wife. She was everything I hadn't experienced growing up: kind, loving, and from a family that treated everyone equally. Her parents welcomed me like one of their own, and it was eye-opening. When we got engaged, my parents barely reacted. They were more excited about Marcus getting a promotion that same month. At our wedding, Marcus pulled one of the most hurtful stunts yet. During the reception, right after Felicity and I had our first dance, he grabbed the microphone and announced his engagement to his girlfriend Anna. My parents were ecstatic. They spent the rest of the night doting on Marcus and Anna, completely overshadowing our celebration. When our son Tommy was born 4 years ago, my parents showed almost no interest. They visited us in the hospital for all of 15 minutes before leaving because Marcus had called to complain about having a cold. By contrast, when Marcus and Anna had their daughter Emma 2 years later, my parents were over the moon. They babysit Emma every weekend, take her on trips, and even set up a college fund for her. Meanwhile, they've seen Tommy maybe 5 times in his entire life. Despite their neglect, Felicity and I tried to keep them involved in Tommy's life. We sent photos, invited them to his milestones, and kept them updated. But their lack of enthusiasm made it clear where their priorities lay. For Tommy's 4th birthday, we planned a party at Chuck's Pizza Place, his favorite spot. We invited about 20 guests, including family members, friends from his preschool, and neighbors. Everyone RSVP'd yes, including my parents, who, for once, seemed genuinely excited to attend. The day of the party, Felicity and I took Tommy early to set up. He was so excited, wearing his Spider-Man t-shirt and eagerly waiting for his friends. We had a special cake with his favorite characters and gift bags for all the kids. Every time a car passed by, Tommy would run to the window, convinced his friends were here. But no one came. Not a single person showed up. We waited for hours as Tommy's excitement turned to confusion and then to heartbreak. Felicity tried calling the parents, but no one answered. By the time we left, Tommy was sobbing, asking if his friends didn't like him or if he had done something wrong. Then, Uncle James arrived. He had been running late because of a meeting, but he brought with him a bombshell. Earlier, while taking a call in the parking lot, he overheard my parents and Marcus laughing about their perfect plan. He recorded them bragging about how they had spent the previous day calling every guest, pretending to be me or Felicity, and telling them the party was cancelled because Tommy was sick. They thought it was hilarious that we'd be sitting there, waiting for guests who would never come.
Their reason?
They were angry because we hadn't attended Emma's dance recital the previous weekend, a recital they never even told us about. Marcus came up with the idea to sabotage Tommy's birthday as payback, and my parents eagerly joined in. They thought it was a brilliant way to teach us a lesson. I was livid. My parents and brother had deliberately hurt an innocent 4-year-old over something so trivial. Felicity was in tears, and Uncle James was already calling his law firm partners. We left the restaurant heartbroken and blocked my parents and Marcus on everything: phone, email, and social media. The next day, they acted as if nothing had happened. They sent a generic happy birthday text to Tommy through Felicity's phone and asked when we'd visit next. Marcus even posted photos from Emma's recital, tagging us and making passive-aggressive comments about how some family members don't support each other. But that wasn't the end of it. Uncle James, furious on our behalf, began digging into my parents and Marcus. What he found was shocking. 5 years ago, when my grandparents passed away, they left equal inheritances for Marcus and me. However, my parents forged my signature on documents to transfer my share to Marcus, leaving me with nothing. Marcus received the full $150,000, which explained how he could afford his lavish lifestyle while Felicity and I struggled with student loans. My parents had hidden this from me and openly joked with Marcus about how stupid I was for not realizing. If that wasn't enough, Marcus had privately posted on Facebook about their epic prank at Tommy's party. He detailed how they tricked all the guests and even filmed Tommy crying through the restaurant window. He and my parents were caught on video mocking a devastated 4-year-old, calling him spoiled and saying Emma was the only grandchild that mattered. Uncle James gathered all the evidence: the forged documents, the videos, the Facebook posts, and even restaurant security footage. Then he waited for the right moment to expose them. That moment came during our church's annual Family Day celebration. My parents, who had long cultivated a reputation as pillars of the community, were there in full force. Mom, the head of the charity committee, and Dad, a church board member, were well-respected figures. When Uncle James took the stage and connected his phone to the projector, the room fell silent. He played the video of my parents and Marcus laughing at Tommy's tears. The entire congregation watched in horror as their true faces were revealed. Some of Mom's closest friends walked out immediately, too disgusted to stay. The fallout was immediate and severe. My parents' carefully constructed reputation crumbled in an instant. They lost everything: their standing in the church, their friendships, and any semblance of respect they had left. As for us, Felicity's family is helping us plan a makeup party for Tommy, but the damage has been done. My son is still anxious, asking if his friends will show up and wondering if his grandparents hate him. No child should ever have to endure such cruelty, especially from their own family. I am completely done with my parents and Marcus. They crossed a line that can never be forgiven. The ordeal reached its crescendo when my parents tried to make one last desperate attempt to insert themselves into Tommy's life. They showed up uninvited to his preschool graduation, carrying gifts and cameras, as if the past few months of chaos had never happened. Their audacity was astounding. Fortunately, we had informed the school about the situation beforehand. Security was called immediately, and they were escorted out. However, Tommy witnessed the scene, and it left him so shaken that he refused to return to school for a week. That moment solidified our decision: we needed to protect our family once and for all. With Uncle James's help, we filed for restraining orders against my parents and Marcus. The court proceedings were swift and decisive, given the overwhelming evidence we presented: the forged inheritance documents, the birthday party video, and even their repeated harassment attempts. Marcus tried to argue in court, claiming that we were alienating Emma from her cousin and destroying the family. He was indignant, loud, and utterly unconvincing. The judge saw right through his self-pity and manipulation, particularly after viewing the video of him laughing at a sobbing 4-year-old. The restraining orders were granted on the spot. Meanwhile, Marcus's personal life continued to crumble. Anna, already at her breaking point, filed for divorce. She uncovered even more lies he had told, including the poison he had been feeding Emma, convincing her that my family was the reason their life had fallen apart and that I was responsible for her grandfather losing his job. Emma began acting out at school and suffering from nightmares. In a bid to undo the damage Marcus had inflicted, Anna moved in permanently with her parents and put Emma in therapy. The inheritance matter was also resolved. Uncle James, relentless in his pursuit of justice, uncovered enough evidence of fraud to force my parents and Marcus to repay what they had stolen. They had no choice but to sell their beloved vacation home in Florida, the one they had bought in part with my inheritance. The same vacation home they had generously allowed Marcus to use but had never once invited us to. Additionally, my father's pension is now partially garnished to repay the debt. While the money isn't the point anymore, it's satisfying to see them face some semblance of accountability. Still, my parents couldn't resist trying one last time to mend their broken image. They enlisted our old pastor to visit us, hoping he would convince us to give them another chance. He came to our home, having witnessed the debacle at the church firsthand, and relayed their claims of newfound faith and promises of change. However, even he admitted that their focus seemed more on salvaging their reputation than expressing genuine remorse. He advised us to keep our distance for our family's sake. To truly close this chapter, we decided to move. We relocated to a neighborhood further away from them but closer to Felicity's family, who have been unwavering in their support. Tommy is thriving in his new school. He's making friends, attending playdates, and his fear of being excluded has slowly faded. His makeup birthday party, held with the help of our community and Felicity's family, was a huge success. Tommy laughed, played, and felt cherished, as every child deserves. Uncle James has stepped into the grandfather role Tommy was deprived of. He spoils him in all the best ways, and Tommy adores him. Felicity's parents treat Tommy like he's their only grandchild, showering him with unconditional love and attention. He's finally surrounded by people who prioritize his happiness and well-being. As for my parents and Marcus, their downfall continues. Marcus has lost everything: his job, his marriage, his home, and any shred of respect he once commanded. He's now living in my parents' basement, blaming everyone but himself for his failures. My parents, desperate and isolated, continue to spiral. They've tried to reach out through mutual acquaintances, but I've made it clear that our decision is final. Some extended family members still argue that I'm being too harsh, urging me to forgive and forget for the sake of family unity. But they weren't there to see my son crying, his innocent heart shattered by the people who were supposed to love him the most. They didn't endure years of being treated as less than, or have their hard work stolen, their milestones overshadowed, and their child emotionally harmed out of sheer spite. This is where the story ends. We've chosen to cut them out of our lives permanently, and for the first time in years, we feel free. Tommy will grow up surrounded by love, kindness, and stability. He'll never have to question his worth or wonder why his family doesn't value him. Sometimes, the family you create is far better than the one you're born into. And for us, that's more than enough.